I wrote a blog post about the relationship between African Americans, and it started from somebody tweeting me and saying they heard the word akata and can I tell them what it means and if I use it. So the word akata is what a lot of West Africans, Nigerians, Ghanaians use to describe African Americans or to just refer to African Americans. And at its base, it actually means wild animal. But it's so commonplace and used like it's regular word that most people who even use it now do not even understand what it means originally. They just think it means black person in the US. They don't realize it means wild animal. I don't use it. So when the person brought that up to me, I was like, oh, well, I can't just explain what it means and bounce out. We kind of have to talk about the dynamics between African Americans and Africans and kind of why that word started being used, why it's problematic, and really what the tension is between us. So I was talking about how when I got here when I was 9, coming to the US, it was like a complete culture shock. And I actually hadn't heard about slavery until I came to the US. I hadn't heard about the Middle Passage. They didn't teach me that in Nigeria when we had to learn about the Biafran War, you know, our own civil war that happened 30 years previous. So coming to the US is when I actually started understanding race too, because I didn't know about race in Nigeria because we were the default. Everybody's black. So we have to talk about race in class because everyone looked like us. So the concept of being black wasn't real to me until I came to the US. And just the adjustment and knowing how a lot of Nigerians and a lot of Ghanaians will come here and have to start their lives over. And somehow they do, and they succeed. You know, in their country, they might be doctors. They come to the US, they're taxi drivers. Give them 5-6 years, they're doctors again. So a lot of those Africans and those West Africans, especially the older ones, are kind of like, if we can come here, start from scratch and succeed, why can't the people who've already been here? So that tension starts because they do buy into the whole African Americans are lazy and African Americans are criminals, and they're like, if I could do it, why can't they? But not thinking about 400 years of oppression and what 400 years of people telling you that you're not a whole human being can do to the psyche. We come here because our whole lives we've been told we're going to be great. And that being enforced to you is something that's really powerful, because even in the face of being talked down to and in the face of being told you're nothing, you're like, I know I'm something, so I'm not going to listen to what you're saying. So they don't take that into account. They just want people to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. And it's something for older Africans to deal with, but I was lucky because I came here when I was 9. So I got to do my school and I got to go to college, take Black history classes, understand what came before me. When you're 45 and you come in here, you don't get the same type of like schooling, you don't get the education, you don't get to sit in history classes and talk to other Black people about what their ancestors went through. So for them, it's a matter of they don't get the exposure and they don't get to understand that people aren't just lazy, people aren't just criminals. It's a whole system, it's this web of oppression that is causing all of this. So the akata thing, I think it's up to some of us younger folks who've grown up here to also kind of tell our parents, like, you should probably not use that word. Tell our other cousins who are young too, who use akata just because that's what they know, and be like, you know what that word means? It's not a good thing, so please don't use it. So yeah, it's a back and forth thing. I think Africans also feel a little bit marginalized when we come here because we get insulted for our accents. I don't really have a strong accent now because I taught myself how not to. So I was just, what did I do to lose my accent? I had lost it by end of high school. So I was just mimicking my classmates. I was like, because it made me stand out on the first day of school, and I hated that. My name already made me stand out. So then when I talk, they're like, oh, she's really African. So I I would actually make it a point to be like, all right, you can't talk like that anymore. And he just went away. It comes back when I'm angry. You're like, oh, I see. I hear the African all up in you. But so it's a two-way street, and I do think we need more like open forums where we bring both groups together and have these really tough conversations